finally a figure of the prodigy.
Hey, Dad, are you talking about me?
Oh, hey, sweetie. No, I don't think I was. I mean, I was just talking about the prodigy, as in Roxanne Perez. Her figures just came in.
Yeah, aren't I the prodigy? I'm the future women's champion.
I'm sure you will be one day, and I'll be there from day one-ish, supporting you every single step of the way.
I'm the future of LumberJillville, and I'm taking over your channel one day. Peace.
Oh, that's a statement. What about me? Well, anyway, might as well review this figure. Hey y'all, welcome to LumberJillville. Women's wrestling lives here. Before we get started, I just want to remind you to please hit subscribe to become an official resident of LJV and get a first look at all future women's wrestling figure reviews like today's very exciting review of the first time in the line, Roxanne Perez and her Elite Series 106 figure. Now, Roxanne, since she came onto the scene in NXT, has been truly fun to watch. She is so young, so talented, and I'm so glad that we got a figure of hers. And not only that, she came out with a bang. She started off with an Elite. So this looks really cool. I'm real excited to open it up and review it. So without further ado, let's take a closer look at this figure, starting with the packaging. Alright, so starting out with the packaging here, the first thing I noticed about this packaging is it's missing a detail that is a huge oversight on Mattel's part and really disappointing. And that's that it doesn't have that first time in the line tag on the package. So what I mean by that is, Mattel has historically done this in the past. They put first time in the line whenever they have a superstar first featured in their line. Now, going back to Elite 105, we had Carmelo Hayes. Even Scott freaking Steiner had, underneath their name, a little yellow line that said first time in the line. And we don't have that here for Roxanne, which kind of shows kind of their level of disrespect to the women's figures. That's why I'm here in LumberJillville, try to raise that respect and show that these are awesome. These deserve all the respect in the world. Maybe I'm thinking too much into it, but I don't understand how Roxanne doesn't have that first time in the line tag there. And what's cool about the first time in the line tag, it's kind of, in my opinion, equivalent to the RC or the rookie card logo that's on wrestling rookie cards. You see that on a figure and it's their first figure. So I really, really wish it had that first time in the line little line down here. So that's disappointing, but let's move on to the packaging itself. So this is that new style that I have reviewed a couple different times on the channel here as of late, and it is really flimsy cardboard. I mean, we're talking like paper thin, not very good quality there. And then obviously we have this smaller window here. So the one thing I am going to say, if we're going to have limited space to view the figure, right, they need to do something about the extra accessories, such as the hands or the extra heads or whatever, and they need to tuck those away because there's tons of space behind this cardboard that they could tuck those extra accessories away. Now, I get that the reason they have them proudly on display for some reason is so, if you're going to the store and you pick this up and you're like, oh, wow, she comes with extra hands, I'm going to get this. But I'm pretty sure in the history of wrestling figure collecting, no one's actually made that integral decision to buy a wrestling figure because they saw it came with extra hands. I'm just saying. So yeah, I think that's an eyesore because we have a limited window space here, right? So in this limited window space, to have an extra pair of hands is like, ugh. I just don't like that very much. But the figure itself looks great. I love how it's posed, holding that new NXT Women's Championship up, which is really cool. We have an image of the stunning Roxanne Perez on the side there. Now, something that I did hear on the Major Wrestling Figure podcast is someone mentioned that this top plastic bubble is to allow light to come in. So that makes sense. So it makes the figure more easily to see. So that's the point of that. Anyway, so as I mentioned, there's no sign of a first time in the line anywhere on the front. I'm looking around too. On the side here, we have the stunning Roxanne Perez once again. And on the back, we have a Roxanne. It says, winning accolade after accolade in her history-making rookie year in NXT, Roxanne Perez proves why she earned the right to call herself the Prodigy. And then we have some of her accolades there. So that's really cool. I am just really looking on this box, trying to find any mention of this being her first figure, but we just don't get that. So that's disappointing. Now, I'm going to open this up, take her out. Let's take a closer look. WWE Elite Series 106, Roxanne Perez. This attire is from the December 13th, 2022 edition of NXT. On this night, Roxanne Perez would shock the world and defeat Mandy Rose in the main event to become the new NXT Women's Champion. Alright, so starting off on the first impressions of this figure freaking rules. I love it. I think it's even better in person than images online. Now I say that because looking at images online, something was off about the face, and obviously we'll jump right to that section next and take an up close look at the face, but I do feel like it's a lot better in person after looking at it in hand from a couple different angles. But this figure is just a lot of fun. It's super, super cool. And yeah, I think it's awesome that y'all, after all this time, we finally have a women's scaled NXT Women's Championship. What I mean by that is in the past, they just repainted the men's NXT Championship and said, yeah, that's the female NXT Women's Championship, and it was not. So it's nice to have a smaller scaled NXT Women's Championship, and let's just look right at it. So this is when it changed. I believe Mandy Rose was actually a champion whenever it got this new makeover, we'll say. It's got a white strap. And what's awesome about this white strap is, as you can see, it's angled. It's got a different style than what we've seen. And it's also got little sculpted stitching patterns that you can kind of see on the border there going around. Now we have the big NXT plate in the middle, and then the two-side WWE plates. And then we have a little bit of blue and orange, maybe a little purple, kind of some different colors. If you look at images of this title in real life, I think they did a good job trying to make it look close to that, because I don't think they're really able to put the same coat of paint that they use in the actual title on this, obviously. So I think what they did here by adding a couple different colors to make it look like it's kind of shining, like it's fluorescent, I think that looks really cool. So this title is freaking awesome. I love it. Now, she also comes with, she does come with semi-grasping hands there, and then she comes with a fists. Now, what's cool about these fists, that's a weird word to say, isn't it, is the thumbnail's painted. Now, that's a detail they could have just ignored and gone over and not painted the thumbnail, but they went out of their way to paint the thumbnail, and we'll take a look at the hands that she comes with that are painted also. All right, so let's take a closer look at this face sculpt, face scan, and hair. All right, so as I mentioned, this figure in hand, it looks a lot better as far as the facial likeness to Roxanne. But I have to be honest, I don't think it's exactly spot on. I don't know what it is that might be a little different. Do I think it's terrible? Absolutely not. I actually think it's pretty darn good. Especially for a first time in the line figure, I think they did an excellent job here, but I do not think it's perfect. I don't know if maybe they didn't get her face shape correct. Maybe that's what's a little bit off. But I feel like something might be a little bit off. But if you came here, watched this segment, and said, Mayor Aaron, you're crazy, that's a perfect face scan, I still wouldn't argue with you, because I don't know what it is. I can't put my finger on it that, you know, makes it a little bit off. But either way, I think it is pretty good. I think they did a great job here for the most part, capturing her likeness. She has a nice, beautifully sculpted smile here. You can really see the teeth, which is really cool. We have her eyes there. We have the eyelashes that are printed on. And then as far as the hair goes, she just has her black hair that is just straight down. And I think that works really, really well. Not a whole lot to say about the hair, but it is accurate. So yeah, I actually think they did a great job on this face sculpt and face scan, but there's something a little bit off, and I don't know what that is. So I'm curious to hear in the comments if you agree with me, because it might just be me. I might be going crazy. This might be the best scan and sculpt in the world, and I'm just being nuts. So let me know what you feel in the comments, but I think it is a pretty good job. So as far as the body sculpt and attire goes, I think they did an excellent job with part choices here. I think it does resemble her quite a bit. I love how she has thicker legs. They used thicker leg sculpts there, which really fits in good with the rest of her body as far as really simulating Roxanne's proportions. You know, I think they did an excellent job there with those decisions. Now, the first thing I am going to point out here, the legs are a little darker in tone then the midsection, the shoulder, and the rest of the flesh. And the reasoning is that simulates pantyhose, right? A lot of the women's wrestlers wear the pantyhose. And I know that's kind of common knowledge, but I'm just saying that before tons of people post this up. Like they posted that basic Carmella, or really that Dakota Kai Elite 104. Really any women's figure that has dark legs that's supposed to simulate wearing pantyhose. A lot of people tend to not understand what that is, and they think Mattel screwed up or something. But yeah, so that's what that is. It's supposed to look like pantyhose there. But yeah, I think the part choices, like I mentioned, are really, really good here. But I think what stands out is the attire. Now let's take a close look at this attire. So the top is a unique sculpted on top, and as you can see, it's got this really cool design of black and white stripes with paint splatter throughout. And then we have a couple lines there on the side of green and blue going around to the back. Wow. So we have this nice opening that's sculpted, and these straps are actually sculpted going across, which is a really, really cool feature, cool detail. I think they did a great job with the paint application on that as well. And that paint splatter continues on the back. As far as her arms go, she has this short little sleeve on the left arm, and what's cool is there's actually a lot more sculpting and detail here than I thought. The top band is sculpted. Even these laces that are going across are sculpted. And the paint detail is also really nice with paint splatter and then the white and black stripes. Now on her right arm, it's more of a full sleeve kind of connected to that top, or supposed to be. And once again, there's some really cool detailed sculpting here, especially with those laces going all the way down the arm. It looks really cool. I believe they're an orange color. And then we have green and blue kind of intertwined in there in that paint splatter. And then on the bottoms here, we have them painted up a little bit up on the waist, kind of the high-waisted trunks that she wears, so they made that pretty darn accurate going around here. And you can see the design there is what we've seen, throughout the attire, and it looks really cool. I love that paint splatter. As I mentioned, the legs are a little darker to simulate the pantyhose. We have knee pads, and then this is really, really cool. Her boots are actually really accurate, and these boots are freaking awesome. I mean, these things have a lot of sculpting involved with not only the buckles and the straps, but even the laces on the side are sculpted, and they're painted in this neon green. So I think that looks really, really cool. So as far as the body sculpt and attire goes, I think it's actually pretty darn perfect. All right, so let's do a little side-by-side comparison. Obviously, this is Roxanne's first figure, so we have really nothing to compare it to. But I'm going to compare it to Mandy Rose here. Elite 98 came out about over a year ago, and I think it is an amazing Elite all on its own. But this is who Roxanne beat for the NXT Women's Championship. We're not going to discuss details of why she dropped the title to Roxanne so abruptly, but she did for reasons. But either way, I wanted to show you side-by-side how they look. So I think the scaling, they did a good job. Now, this is something I really don't cover in detail, and that's simply because Mattel and Jazzwares, with their women's figures especially, have completely thrown scaling out the window. That's not something they even try, it feels like, anymore. But it seems like they did a pretty good job with Roxanne. She maybe should be a little bit shorter here, but she does have smaller proportions and dimensions, and I think that's really cool. So as far as scaling goes, it works. I think they did a good job. She's listed at, I believe, 5'1", Mandy 5'4", so it's close enough. So, I'm just comparing these two next to each other. But if I would bring other wrestling figures, that Mattel's released, it'd be even more convoluted and confusing because the scale's been all over the place. But I just wanted to show you how she would look next to Mandy here, because these two I think would be really cool together, especially if we have this title displayed with them. And I did order two, and I might actually give the extra new NXT Women's Championship to this Mandy figure, because that's just who I picture when I picture this title, right? Now let's cover Articulation. Okay, so the head can look down a little bit, can look up, can look right a little bit and left. Not the best head articulation, but that's what we get the women's figures, because usually the hair sculpts. Not a big deal. The shoulder can be on a ball joint, can move in all different directions. She has an upper bicep swivel. She has double jointed elbows, which allows for maximum flexion there. We have a wrist that can swivel. It can also flex. It can also extend. We have the upper torso swivel. We have a waist swivel. We have the hip on a ball joint, can move in all different directions. It can even move back pretty good. We have the upper thigh swivel. Double jointed knees can really move. We have a boot swivel there. And then the feet can planar flex down and dorsiflex up. I don't think they can rock side to side. They can rock a little bit side to side. So articulation is pretty darn good. All right, so overall, I give WWE Elite Series 106 Roxanne Perez an overall score of a 9.5 out of 10. I love this figure. It might actually be my personal frontrunner for LumberJillville Women's Wrestling Figure of the Year. Now, obviously, toward the end of this month, beginning of January, I'll start putting up the videos, and all of y'all are going to vote on the Figures of the Year for the Jillies Award Show, but I digress. This figure is awesome. It's so much fun. I love and absolutely love that we finally have a female NXT Women's Championship that is smaller in scale and that looks good with women's wrestling figures. So I love that. Her attire really pops, stands out. The proportions are great. The body sculpt is awesome. And I think the face sculpt and scan is really good. Now, the reason it's not a 10 out of 10 is because I do think something's off. I don't know what it is. I might be crazy. But that's the only reason why it's not a perfect 10, because this figure is so much fun. I love it so much. And my personal recommendation is you go to ringsidecollectibles.com, use coupon code LJV at checkout, save 10%, and order this figure because it's totally worth it, and I love it.
Thanks for stopping by
LumberJillville. Women's Wrestling lives here.
Yeah!
For a first look at all future women's wrestling figure reviews, make sure to hit subscribe and become an official resident of LJV today. Now stay tuned, there's going to be a lot, and I mean a lot, of women's wrestling figure related videos all Jillness month long leading up until Christmas Day. So I'm really excited. Are you excited, buddy?
Yeah.
Now we have some playing to do back here, but thank you for watching and have a great night, y'all.